History remembers many conquerors who spread their influence with swords and armies. But there are also rare souls who conquered hearts with compassion, humility, and spiritual wisdom. One of those remarkable figures was Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, Rahmatullah Alaih, also known as Khwaja Gharib Nawaz. It is widely believed in Islamic tradition that through the teachings, character, and spiritual mission of Moinuddin Chishti, Rahmatullah Alaih, in the Indian subcontinent, millions of people were drawn toward Islam. Some historical narrations even claim that as many as 9 million people eventually embraced Islam through the spiritual movement he inspired. But how did one humble Sufi saint influence so many hearts without power, wealth, or political authority? This story reveals an extraordinary journey of faith, patience, and love for humanity. Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah was born in the 12th century in the region of Sistan, or near Sanjar, an area located between present-day Iran and Afghanistan. He came from a noble and respected Muslim family, known for their knowledge, generosity, and devotion to Islam. His father, Khwaja Gharib Nawaz, was a wealthy and respected man who owned land and orchards, while his mother was known for her piety and kindness. From the very beginning of his life, the environment around him was filled with Islamic teachings, respect for scholars, and service to others. During his childhood, young Moinuddin showed signs of a gentle heart and deep spirituality. While other children might focus only on play, he was often seen helping people and listening to stories of the prophets and righteous people. His parents ensured he received proper Islamic education, including learning the Quran, understanding the teachings of Islam, and developing strong moral character. This upbringing laid the foundation for the spiritual personality he would later become. However, life tested him early. When he was still young, he lost both of his parents. The pain of becoming an orphan deeply affected him, but instead of turning toward despair, he turned closer to Allah. These hardships shaped his heart and made him more compassionate toward the suffering of others. Many historians say that the kindness he later showed toward the poor and oppressed was rooted in the hardships he himself experienced during his youth. After the passing of his parents, Moinuddin Chishti, Rahmatullah Alaih, inherited a small orchard and a windmill. These became his main sources of income, and he spent his days managing the land and maintaining the orchard. Despite having enough wealth to live comfortably, he was never attached to worldly possessions. Instead, he was known in the area for sharing what he had with travelers, neighbors, and the poor. One day, an incident occurred that completely changed the direction of his life. A wandering dervish visited his orchard. The traveler was a spiritual man who carried deep wisdom and spiritual insight. When the visitor arrived, Moinuddin Chishti welcomed him with great respect and offered him food and hospitality. The dervish made a special prayer for him and then gave him a small piece of bread after reciting something over it. After eating the bread, a powerful spiritual transformation took place in his heart. Suddenly, the love of worldly possessions began to disappear, and a strong desire to seek closeness to Allah filled his heart. Realizing that his life had a greater purpose, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih made a remarkable decision. He sold his orchard and windmill, distributed the money among the poor, and prepared himself for a long journey in search of knowledge and spiritual guidance. After leaving behind his wealth and comfortable life, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih began traveling across the Muslim world in search of Islamic knowledge. In those days, scholars were spread across different cities, and students often had to travel great distances to learn from them. These journeys were not easy. Travelers faced deserts, mountains, and dangerous roads, but for those seeking knowledge, these hardships were considered a noble sacrifice. His journey eventually brought him to famous centers of Islamic learning, such as Bukhara and Samarkand. These cities were known throughout the Islamic world as places where great scholars taught the Quran, Hadith, Islamic law, and theology. In these centers of learning, Moinuddin Chishti spent many years studying under respected teachers. He memorized knowledge, reflected deeply on the meanings of the Quran, and trained himself to live according to Islamic principles. But knowledge alone was not enough for him. Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih wanted not only intellectual knowledge, but also spiritual purification. He believed that true understanding of Islam required cleansing the heart from pride, greed, and selfishness. This desire for spiritual perfection would eventually lead him to meet the teacher who would transform his life forever. During his travels, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih met the great Sufi master Usman Haruni. This meeting became one of the most important turning points in his life. Usman Haruni was known for his deep spiritual insight and his strict discipline in training students on the path of spiritual purification. Recognizing the sincerity and potential within Moinuddin Chishti, Usman Haruni accepted him as his disciple. Under his guidance, Moinuddin Chishti began a long period of spiritual training that lasted nearly 20 years. This training involved more than just learning religious knowledge. It required patience, humility, long hours of worship, and acts of service toward others. During this period, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih learned to completely detach his heart from worldly pride and desires. His teacher trained him to remain humble, even in hardship, and to always rely on Allah in every situation. This long period of spiritual mentorship shaped him into a man capable of guiding thousands of people toward faith and righteousness. While studying under the guidance of Usman Haruni, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih traveled extensively with his teacher across many parts of the Islamic world. They visited cities known for scholarship and spirituality, including Baghdad, Nishapur, and other major centers of learning. These journeys allowed him to meet great scholars, saints, and students who were devoted to seeking closeness to Allah. Through these travels, he observed the diversity of the Muslim world. People from different cultures, languages, and backgrounds were united through their faith in Islam. This experience taught him how to communicate with people from different traditions and helped him develop a deep understanding of human nature. Eventually, after many years of training, his teacher recognized that Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih had completed his spiritual preparation. He was now ready to guide others and carry the message of Islam to new lands. This moment marked the beginning of the mission that would eventually bring him to the Indian subcontinent, where his teachings would influence millions of hearts for generations to come. After completing many years of learning and spiritual training, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih continued his journey toward the most sacred places in Islam. One of the most important moments of his life was when he traveled to perform the pilgrimage at Masjid al-Haram. Standing in the holy sanctuary, where millions of Muslims gather for worship, deeply moved his heart and strengthened his devotion to Allah. During his time in Mecca, he spent long hours in prayer, reflection, and remembrance of Allah. He asked Allah to guide him toward the path where he could serve Islam and humanity in the best possible way. After completing the pilgrimage, he traveled to Medina and spent time near the blessed resting place of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ at Masjid an-Nabawi. Many traditional narrations describe that during his stay in Medina, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih felt a deep spiritual calling, directing him toward the Indian subcontinent. It was a land where many people had not yet encountered the teachings of Islam. With a heart full of faith and responsibility, he prepared himself for the long journey toward that region. After traveling through many regions, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih finally arrived in the city of Ajmer, in present-day India. At that time, Ajmer was a significant political and cultural center. The society there was complex, with many different beliefs, traditions, and social divisions. Instead of entering the region with confrontation or debate, he chose a completely different path. He quietly settled in Ajmer and began living a simple life devoted to prayer, teaching, and helping the community. His small residence soon became a place where people from all backgrounds came seeking help and advice. Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih welcomed everyone who came to him. Rich or poor, powerful or weak, Muslim or non-Muslim, he treated everyone with kindness and respect. Slowly, people began to notice that he possessed a rare character filled with humility, patience, and compassion. These qualities attracted people toward him long before they even heard his teachings. After traveling through many regions, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih finally arrived in the city of Ajmer in present-day India. At that time, Ajmer was a significant political and cultural center. The society there was complex, with many different beliefs, traditions, and social divisions. Instead of entering the region with confrontation or debate, he chose a completely different path. He quietly settled in Ajmer and began living a simple life devoted to prayer, teaching, and helping the community. His small residence soon became a place where people from all backgrounds came seeking help and advice. Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah welcomed everyone who came to him. Rich or poor, powerful or weak, Muslim or non-Muslim, he treated everyone with kindness and respect. Slowly, people began to notice that he possessed a rare character filled with humility, patience, and compassion. These qualities attracted people toward him long before they even heard his teachings. One of the most remarkable qualities of Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih was his deep concern for the poor and suffering. He believed that serving humanity was one of the greatest forms of worship. Every day, food was prepared and distributed to anyone who came to his door. No one was turned away hungry. Because of this generosity, people began calling him Khwaja Gharib Nawaz, which means the benefactor of the poor. His kitchen was always open, and travelers, laborers, and needy families knew they could find help there. This kindness created a powerful impact in a society where many people were suffering under poverty and social discrimination. Through these acts of service, people began to experience the beauty of Islamic values. They saw that the teachings of Islam emphasized mercy, justice, and compassion. Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih did not force anyone to change their beliefs. Instead, he allowed people to witness the message of Islam through his actions and character. As more people gathered around him, Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih began teaching the spiritual principles of Islam. His lessons focused on love for Allah, sincerity in worship, humility in life, and kindness toward others. He emphasized that the heart must be purified from pride, greed, and hatred. People from different communities attended his gatherings and listened to his words. They were inspired not only by his teachings, but also by the way he lived his life. His humility, patience, and generosity became powerful examples of Islamic character. Many individuals who met him began learning about Islam and eventually embraced the faith. Over time, his disciples also began traveling to different regions to spread the message of Islam in the same peaceful and compassionate way that he had taught them. Through these students and followers, the influence of Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih spread far beyond Ajmer. As the years passed, the teachings of Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih continued spreading across the Indian subcontinent through his disciples and their students. This spiritual movement later became known as the Chishti Sufi order, which played a major role in guiding people toward Islam through compassion, service, and wisdom. Generations of scholars and spiritual teachers carried forward his mission. His approach of inviting people toward Islam through good character rather than force left a lasting impact on the region. Over centuries, millions of people learned about Islam through the teachings of the Chishti movement, and many embraced the faith. Even today, centuries after his passing, the legacy of Moinuddin Chishti Rahmatullah Alaih continues to inspire Muslims around the world. His life reminds us that the most powerful way to represent Islam is through kindness, patience, and sincere devotion to Allah. If you want to learn more inspiring stories from Islamic history and discover the lives of great Muslim personalities who changed the world through faith and character, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay connected for more powerful Islamic stories and lessons.